Well, hi everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with stress. And our topic today is going to be about how do we stay calm in a crisis? Basically, how do we process shock? And that's a really important thing for us all to remember. And we've all been through shock of different sorts, and we all basically know how to get through it. But every now and then you need a reminder that you're not alone, you're not the only one that's had this happen, and that quite honestly, it just takes time and a few basic, very basic rules that you can choose to follow that will help you process faster. Okay, so that's what our topic is going to be about today. In the meantime, I just wanted to make sure that we wish Becca a very happy birthday. And Erin's birthday was on Friday. Um, I'm hoping that uh, I saw that Becca actually thanked us for the birthday wishes. And Erin, if you happen to listen to this, I had your birthday wishes all ready to post and didn't. You know, these things happen. So I hope you had a wonderful birthday. I don't know if we have any other birthdays this week from any of you that might be regular viewers, be it on the live chat or even on the replays. If you consider yourself a regular viewer and we don't acknowledge your birthday, it means you're not on our database. And please just contact me and let me know so that we can add you to that. Our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody who might need them at the moment. And, we're thinking about Nyasha dealing with her eyesight problems. We're thinking about Beth, who is recovering from a stroke, and everybody else that might need extra thoughts and prayers. And if you are one of those people, again, let me know, because if I don't know that you could do with some extra thoughts and prayers, I won't be able to send them to you or have everybody else send them to you as well. My money saving tip for today. And I thought this was a really clever one for those of you who are on a tight budget. Do yourself a favor. Before you buy new makeup brushes at very expensive cost, have a look at artists' brushes. Most artist shops have sable brushes. And for sure, even if you buy them online, look for sable brushes. Those are those very soft ones. And they make them in multiple sizes. And I think you'll find buying art brushes, sable art brushes, but a tenth of the price of buying very expensive brand name ones. So just a thought. And if you haven't tried it, might be worth thinking about. All right. And Jody's saying prayers for you too, Sal. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Yes. And for those of you who don't know, and that's going to be the topic that we're going to talk about. For those of you who don't know, Jeannie's saying the dollar store also, they have sable brushes in the dollar store. Wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome to know. Thank you, Jeannie. Anyway, so for those of you who don't know, I went through yet another trauma this week, and that was that I found out that I am losing my eyesight, and to a certain degree, and we'll find out how much as the years go on. But it was pretty shocking. I found out that this eye now has macular degeneration, and this eye I've got a cataract in. So this one will need surgery, and this one will need patients and maybe injections. I don't know. Jeannie's saying she's not sure if there's sable brushes at the dollar store, but some are fine and soft. Okay, so there is a thought. Right, so here we go. So this is going to be equally relevant whatever your trauma was, whatever the shock was. Whether it's a diagnosis, as Jody has been through more than her fair share in the last 10 years, whether it is a trauma like a fire that Jeannie went through, I went through as well, a fire. It doesn't matter. They all have the same sort of process going on. And so what I thought I would do is just give us some reminders about the best way that we can cope with it. So the first thing that happens when you get a shock. So when the optometrist said to me, well, you got macular degeneration in this eye and you got a cataract on this one. Do any of you relate to the fact that the first thing that hits you is shock, right? It's just like that there is that moment of denial. And I love those two things together, because that's what, first of all, it's like, what? And then, no, is that what he said? you know? Um, and then I don't know about you guys, but my next reaction, and I'm not proud of it, but it's my truth. My next reaction, for some reason, is to awfulize it. I make it way more awful than it really is. Do any of you relate to that? So you understand that the moment I heard what was going on with my eyes, I immediately thought, um, that's it. I'm going to go blind. And then I also thought, not only am I going to go blind, but that would mean no more internet and no more um, confetti corner where I make all my crafts. And, this sort of like this incredible sadness came over me. Um, but I know that feeling. I've been there before, all right? Like when they told me I had cancer, it's just like, okay, you can imagine where I went with that one. Jody, I'm pretty certain, will tell you the same thing, all right? Just like your first thought is not necessarily your best thought. And so what I want you to do is just remember that any feelings that you have when you get something that shocks you, when you hear something that shocks you, when an event shocks you, all right? Know that any feelings that you have are quite normal. You're right? And it's okay to feel fear. It's okay to feel loss and even anger, because they're feelings. And what do we know about feelings? Feelings belong to us. Nobody else creates them. It is the way we process what we just heard. Makes sense? Can't blame the optician for what he told me. He didn't cause it. All right? It's just like, and I even said to him, just hang on a second. I'm going to need a second just to process what you just told me. But what I really knew, it was going to take me some time to process what he just told me. And so when he asked me, do you have any questions? I said, I'm sure I got a load of them, but not right now. Why? Because I don't think any questions I'm likely to ask right now would sound very rational. Does that make sense? I'd be going, am I going to die? Am I going blind next week? It's just like I realize that I've got to process this before I start asking the questions. I know that when I had the fire, I thought my life would never be the same again. Well, guess what? It was pretty good. There's so many things. Jody, I am pretty certain with at least half of the diagnoses that you have had over the last 10 years, you didn't think you were going to make it through the next year. And then you knew it. I was not going to let you get away with that one. So what I want you to do is remember that our feelings are ours, right? Nobody else's. And it's our job to process them, knowing that once we've processed them, we will be able to get back into rational thinking. Do not try to make any major decisions while you're in shock, right? Absolutely a waste of energy. You're not going to make good decisions in shock. You're not going to make rational, you're not even going to sound rational in shock, right? So what you do is you start off by processing, and you need to do that preferably, quietly on your own. So what I want you to do is just remind you some of the ways, that I do it or that I know you can do it. And I want to quote Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. You've heard me talk about her before. And one of the things that she did is she talked about the cycle of loss many years ago, probably 20 years ago. And that always changed, that really changed my thinking, quite honestly. It changed my thinking about everything. When I realized there is a cycle that we all go through, and it doesn't matter whether you have lost a human, a pet, or your keys, all right? You will go through the same cycle. The only thing is it takes longer, depending on the impact of that loss. And so She also did a cycle or a change curve, when our life is about to change what our mind goes through. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about that. So number one, the shock. We all know that one. Number two, the denial. It's like, no, this can't be happening, surely. I don't mind telling you, when I heard that about my eyes, one of my thoughts was, what? What? It's not fair. I've just been through cancer and da da da. You can imagine, right? Um, is is that a waste of energy, people? A total waste of energy? Yeah. So, because it is what it is, right? And I didn't do anything to deserve this. It just is what it is, and therefore I got to deal with it. Therefore, I need to get my mind dealing with it. So then, frustration is part of that process of that curve. Right? Makes sense. And the next one is a little level of depression. I'm certain that Jeannie will understand that. Jody for sure will understand that. Any of you that have been through major trauma will understand that. You go through a little bit of a depression. Now, if you do the right processing, you don't stay there very long. It can be as fleeting as a minute or two, or it can be as devastating as 10 years. It depends how much work you do on your mind, how much processing you do. So she then said the next thing is you start to experiment with real life stuff. You start to think rationally again, slowly. Um, and then you start to make decisions. And then once you start to make decisions in the new situation, then, not with the old one, but with the new one, then you are what they call into integration, all right? That you have done your processing. Does that make sense to everybody? And that cycle is quite normal. You do any part of that cycle, if you can recognize any of it, then know that it is all a quite normal process. And it is important for you to know that you are not alone in that, right? That everybody goes through it. It's not just you. So, if any of you know how to meditate, it's a really good thing to help you process. That you sit really quietly and you just try to clear your mind completely. And then what will happen is certain thoughts will come into your mind, not good or bad, just thoughts. You'll think they're good thoughts or they're bad thoughts, but they're not. They're just thoughts. What's happening is, I like to think of it like I've got a librarian running around inside my head, trying to reorganize the information. All right. Because, in my case, he had this filing cabinet, that had to do with health. And, quarter of the way down, there were eyes were in there, and he had the file, and it had been there a long time, and he knows that I'm short-sighted, and that I need reading glasses and all the rest of it. So he's got all that stuff. He's got it well documented, and everything's fine. Now suddenly I come in with this new information. Now he's got to make room in the file. He's got to find the file first of all. Then he's got to make room in the file, and then he's got to get it all. Well, wait a minute. If that's the situation, what does she need to do next? Because he cares. I like to think that the librarian up there in my mind cares. And so he starts to give me questions. So when you meditate, what happens is, the best thing you can do is to clear your mind. It's said that make your heart like a lake with a calm, still surface and great depths of kindness. All right, so this is the whole thing, to get calm. Because unless you get calm, you're not going to be able to think straight. So if you can meditate, it's a great way to help your mind settle. All right. Now, the other thing I'd like to suggest is check what your what your dreams are telling you. All right, because I found dreams are really interesting when you're going through any sort of a crisis. So guess what? I think the day or the day after, one of the two, I went to sleep, which was unusual because I was watching the Australian Open tennis tournament. But I went to sleep, and during that sleep cycle, I dreamt about being in a prison camp. Now that, when I woke up and realized that that's what happened, um, then I just smiled and I went, that makes sense. I feel imprisoned. by the news, all right? And I remember in the dream, I said, I don't have to worry because any minute now I'm going to wake up. I remember saying that in my dream. Um, okay, so Jeannie's saying, my daughter told me that one of her boys got hit in the mouth on the bus going home. She was very upset, and I told her, breathe, smile, and go slowly. I told her that Sal says it often, and she liked that. Good news is that her grandson is fine, not hurt. He's just upset, of course. And any assault like that would be upsetting. So what I want you to know is if you can meditate, do it, all right? Um, one of the things that I realized was very quickly was I didn't need to rush into anything, all right? Actually, funny enough, the same thing with my cancer diagnosis. The first thing they did was say, when I went in for the biopsy, that was the only thing where I had to make an instant decision. Because when I went in for the biopsy, they said, we want to do a full-blown incision for the biopsy. And I went, what? I came in for a little needle thing, and now they want to open me up, literally. And I needed to make that decision in a heartbeat because there was a surgeon standing by. Now, I don't know about you, but my logic was, I don't think they'd be recommending that unless they were concerned. And so I said, I state the obvious. I said, I've got a feeling you wouldn't be recommending that unless you thought I needed to have that done. And they said, exactly. So I said, well, then just give me a second because I need to just think this through. When you think it through in terms of who do I need to advise that I'm about to have this happen. Anyway, so the point is that in most things, although it feels like a terrible crisis and that you've got to make instant decisions, you don't. People may be asking you to make instant decisions, but really the choice is yours. And I want you to remember that. When people say to you, well, you have to do it, and I go, no, I don't have to. I'm an adult. I can choose to. No, you've got to make this decision right now. No, I don't have to make it right now. You might want me to, but I don't have to make it right now. If I need 2 hours to think about it, that is my right. I can remember once being in a hospital and they said they wanted to give me a lumbar puncture. And the guy was ready to do it right there and then. And I said, I don't know, but somewhere in my background, I've got a feeling that a lumbar puncture, is not close to an erotic experience. I have lumbar puncture in the this could be painful category. So what I'd like to do is think about that. And he said, what? I said, in those days I smoked. I said, I'd like to go out and think about that for 10 minutes, if you don't mind. And if you do. See, we don't have to say yes or no immediately. You've got to have time to process these things before you make that decision. It's a decision, that could change your life. So, I'd really recommend you take a moment to think about it. So I knew I didn't have to rush into anything. And so when I got home, I said, I'm not going to worry too much about this. I'm not going to do any major actions on this for a week. And then when Sunday comes, after the broadcast on Sunday, I'm inclined to sit down and plan my week. When I get to look through my goals, and one of the goals is my health goals for the year, and then one of them was for January, get your eyes checked. Well, I get to say, well, I did that. But now I've got a few extra points, things that I need to add to the list of things to do in February, right? Other than the teeth, right? Now I've got other things. So, but I don't have to rush anything, right? They've been bad for some time. They're going to stay bad for some time. And there's nothing that's critical. And that's what helps calm you down when you can see that logic, right? It's just going to change my plans a little. The other thing is, I want time to talk to people. I want to find out, who do I know that either has this going on or knows people that have this going on, right? Because I don't know about you, but I found that people who are going through stuff are a great source of knowledge and also a great source of reality, right? They're inclined to tell you a different truth in some ways. So I did. I managed to find some people that have got macular degeneration, and I also managed to find out what they're doing about it. And one of them was take a certain vitamin supplement, which people recommended. So I got that immediately and started taking it. But this is in the meantime, this is before I decide what else I'm going to do. So listen to people, all right? Get that input. By the way, people will say to you, well, you have to do this and you have to do that, and keep reminding yourself, no, I don't have to. But it's information that they think is important, so I want to keep it on my list of my options. Okay? Also, people who've had it will give you handy hints. I love that. You know, they will do that. Saves you a lot of time and saves you a lot of research. The other thing I know is whenever I want to calm my mind, I need to get creative. Why? Uses the opposite side of my brain. So this side of my brain's like a duck, right? It's like it on the outside it looks very calm, but underneath it's like this. So I'm going, I need to get into my craft room, my confetti corner, and I need to start creating in there because I want to balance my mind. I hope that makes sense to all of you. All right. Two different parts of your brain. One processes stuff like that. The other is your creative side. And your creative side will, if you use it, it forces the analytical side to calm down, right? Because when you're being creative, you need a lot of your brain to be creative. And so that's the other thing I would remind you of, is that take some time to be creative. And that could be listen to music, that could be dance, that could be anything that is creative. And I found when I was being creative, some of the answers came to me. In other words, yeah, I went into orphanization. I'd never see spring flowers again, and you can imagine where my mind went. And then, as I was being creative, I went, yeah, I don't think this is quite that bad. I didn't get that sense. Um, so maybe they'll be a bit fuzzy, but I think I'll still see them. And the other thing that I would really recommend is, as soon as you possibly can, get back into your normal routine. Okay. And to me, I wasn't surprised that a couple of days I didn't eat properly. I wasn't surprised that for a couple of days I didn't do my exercise routines because I was in shock. Totally normal. But what I did know was, once I started to be concerned about what I was eating again, once I decided to get back and get my steps in, then what do I know? I know that I'm healing, that I'm getting past the shock and now back into being in balance again. And that to me is something you can't do if you're still in shock, all right? You just don't, you won't be able to settle and do something creative if you're still in shock. But if you can spend 3 or 4 hours doing something creative, it means you're balancing your mind. And yes, I quite agree, Jeannie. I kept repeating, smile, breathe, and go slowly. And the other thing I said, and be grateful. And then I said, and also be realistic. Spend a lot of time doing the things you love that will require sight, because who knows how much of it you will have left as you go through this. On the other hand, I could outlive this without any problem at all. I don't know. We don't know these things. So I thought it was interesting. Deepak Chopra said, the best use of creativity is your imagination. The worst use of creativity is anxiety. Does that make sense to you? There's no point in being anxious about it because not going to help anything. I'd be much better using that creative energy into creating something pretty that calms me down than worrying myself stupid. And so when I could smile and breathe and go slowly in my thoughts, then I could also start eating better again. And that also made me realize, okay, I'm through this curve now. I'm integrating now. And then, of course, I could get back. Um, I could get back into my usual routine. Hi there, Lauren. Good to see you as well. Lauren saying your phrase, be prepared, not scared, comes to mind. Yes. And that was part of it. As I said, it was one of the early parts of it. Get hold of people who had knowledge. And also, I've been on the internet and I've done some research there, and I will continue to do that. And only when I've sort of done that side of it will I then go back and speak to the optometrist and say, okay, fine, now I'd like to go to a specialist, right? Because that's my eyes. That's pretty important stuff. So I'd like a specialist to have a look at that and tell me what their best guess is. And also because I'm going to need surgery on the cataracts, so I think I'm going to need somebody who knows what they're doing. Not that the optometrist doesn't know what they're doing. It's just like it's like it's the next step. He's diagnosed it now. Let me get referred. So does all that make sense to you? That if you can see that that is normal, that is not something that is weird or you're a wuss because you panic or you awfulize. How many of you can relate to that? The first feelings I had was, oh, that's it. I won't be able to use the internet anymore, and I won't, I won't be able to play the games I play online, or quite normal. That's when I knew I was still in shock. And so as I settle down, as I get more information, I learn stuff. When I learn stuff, knowledge is incredibly useful. Then I calm down. Now, did I look like I was in shock? Probably not. Did I sound like I was in shock? Probably not. Yeah, and Jeannie's saying being in shock sounds normal in any situation where, what is shocking to us might not be shocking to the next person. Shock, I think, is very trauma is very personal. One of the things that everybody said to me, when I had the fire, was they could not believe how calm I was. But I'm a performer, so from that perspective, I know how to be the duck. Look calm on the outside, but the mind's going 19 to the dozen underneath there. And they're two different things. Years of being a professional speaker where things were going wrong all around me, but I still had to carry on speaking and sound like everything was fine. You know what I mean? It's you learn that just to compartmentalize it and do it like that. Yes, Jeannie. Oh, Jeannie, isn't that the truth? Jeannie said there are times still where I hear fire trucks go by and feel ready to cry. Oh, absolutely. I assure you, I have set off my fire alarm a couple of times since the fire, and each time, what it does to my heart rate is just amazing. So, having said all of that, do you all understand that we all go through trauma and it's very personal? And we need time to process it. And that's what I want you to remember, because your friends are going to go through trauma. Your family members are going to go through trauma. And please do not tell them it's time to get over it. Right? It's like everybody takes their own time. Takes their own time. Jeannie will tell you, when you lose the love of your life, people will say, oh, you'll be fine. Well, you'll never be fine again after losing the love of your life. Of course not. BS. What you learn to do is adapt. You will never be fine again. right? Those waves of sadness will continue for the rest of your life. The waves will come less often, but you'll be sad about that for the rest of your life. For those of you who were deeply attached to a pet, you will know the same thing. And people say, "Oh, it's not the same." Well, hello. For some people, it is. For some people, they have more love for their pet than they did for their spouse. And that is true. So, what I want you to do is understand that your process is yours. And if you can ask that, yeah, Janie's saying people ask if I'm dating. And she's going, "Are you kidding me? I had the best man. Why would I seek someone else?" Well, because you forget why, Jeannie. Wait a minute, Jeannie. The reason it's what other people need you to do, right? They will feel more comfortable if you are dating again. They will feel more comfortable, right? So that's the way to answer it, by the way. When people say to you, "Are you dating?" and you go, "Why do you need me to be dating again?" What? No, why do you want me to be dating again? In what way will that feel better for you? I find it really interesting when you ask people those questions. No, I just think it's good for you. No, it's not good for me. For some reason, you seem to think that I will be better off by doing that. No, I'm really happy. I was so fortunate to have the love of my life in my life. I have no need to be dating again. You might even say, what a terrible thing to do to another person. I'd be holding them up to a standard that very few people would ever be able to reach. And I don't think that's fair either. But me, I'm really happy. Stella and I are really happy together. Thank you. And that's the whole thing. Sometimes getting a dog is better than getting another one. Yeah, exactly, Jeannie. I totally get that. Jeannie's saying, "So happy to have had him for my husband for so many years." Yeah, absolutely. So, but you understand, Jeannie, it's their need, not yours. They're transferring their need onto you. And they probably say things like, "Oh, but you make somebody so happy." Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not what I'm here for. Lauren saying, "Mum always says she doesn't want to have to train another bugger when she gets asked about dating." Yeah, because it's just like if you've been married for a long time, you're right. It's like you've trained somebody to be this second part of you. You don't want to go through doing that again. Okay. All right, so just an update. The reason I need to update you on the microgreens is because for those of you who saw me do um, you didn't see me, but on Thursday I showed you these microgreens. And I just want to show you how quickly they've grown. I hope you can see that. So here we've got spring. There's like a spring mix here. We've got crimson lentils here. We've got alfalfa here. Mung beans. You see how the mung beans have grown? Um, and the ancient ones are grown too already. But it's amazing. They're all sprouting. I hope you can see that. Can you see that, people? Isn't that amazing? Just in a couple of days. And the other thing is that I wanted to show you that I actually grew this group. Hang on a second. In something deep like this, all right? And I grow them in something deep so it forces them to grow up tall. It gives me more bang for my buck, all right? And once they've grown like that, I can pick them up like this. And then now I can easily pick them up and cut them. Does that make sense? But look how nice and tall and strong they are. So I thought I'd show you that. And even these ones that I did on Friday, this is mustard, for example. See this one here? That's already sprouting. So I'm quite amazed. Yeah, and the quinoa I also did on Friday. Quinoa is also starting to sprout. Amazing. So, but when they're nice and tall like that, all right, you get a really nice bang for your buck. So this is going to go on my pita bread just now after the broadcast. However, what I promised you I would do today is test out those fake chicken nuggets. So before I put them in to cook, I thought one of the things I am a great believer in, if you're going to test something, make sure you don't compare apples to oranges. In other words, if I were going to have chicken nuggets, which I don't have, quite honestly, maybe once or twice a year, if that. Um, but if I had them, I'd probably have them when I was out because a lot of places don't have a lot of things that don't have garlic in them. Therefore, I end up eating chicken nuggets. So, what I would do is have chicken nuggets and fries. So we're going to start with the fries. And yeah, you can see that good. Okay, so I'm just going to take half a potato because that's all I need. That's more than enough fries. And then leave the skin on because we know lots of nutrients in the skin. And I'm just going to carve and slice them like that. Slice them here. There we go. And then we're going to put them in the air fryer. So I'm just going to drop them into a bag. You've seen me do this before. Take some virgin olive oil, 2 spritzes, and this is a little bit of lemon pepper, salt, the seasoning. We'll throw that in, and then just shake them up. Really difficult cooking this is. Now I'm going to let these cook for about 10 minutes, and then after I turn them over, I'm going to add the chicken nuggets. So we'll talk about the chicken nuggets while these are starting to cook. All right? So you saw how easy that was? Got the air fryer on it, just 350, nothing stupendous. There we go. Okay, so not difficult. Then the other thing that I will normally have with chicken nuggets would be something to dip them in. And that would be, I would normally make a dipping sauce out of some mayo, some spicy plum, and that just happens, I call it spicy plum because it's just, you can probably see it's got some red pepper flakes in it. And then this is also a little bit of spicy mayo. So all I'm going to do is make some of that. Oh. I think I must have That's got to be the bottom of the... All right, so what I did is I had some mayo at the end of the bottle. I just put a little bit of milk in there to let it, so I could use up the end of it. So then I'm just going to add some plum sauce. It's going to be a little more runny than I would normally have, and a little bit of spicy mayo. I might need to add some regular mayo to that just to thicken it up a bit, which is what I thought I had. Okay. Oh no, it's pretty good. No, that's good. Almost could not be better. It is good. Now, half a potato. Just going to spritz a little bit of oil in that, and then I will keep that and eat the other half. I allow myself one potato a week. So, and I might have the second half as a baked potato, half a baked potato, or I might even do boiled potatoes with something, but you don't need a whole one anymore. So that's going into the fridge. Actually, I've just seen in the fridge, I've got some leftover soup. So what I might do even is cut that potato up into small pieces, put it into the soup, and have, a hearty soup. So that's pretty interesting. All right. So now then, how many of you have had fake chicken nuggets before? And if so, what is your experience? I think the thing that almost everybody has been asking me is, oh, you're going vegan? I go, no, I'm not going vegan. What I'm doing is replacing a couple of, I would like to be able to eat twice a week and not have meat. Have any of you ever wanted to do that? Just go meatless Monday and Fridays, whatever. That's what I'd like to do. I'm not looking, to become a vegan. That's definitely not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is cut down on the cholesterol. I realized to my horror that a lot of my food and my snack food and everything has to do with dairy. And we're talking, that's a lot of cholesterol. And I have high cholesterol. So, what if I could cut that down a little bit? Would I be healthier? Now, if you think that going plant-based is healthier, I don't think it is necessarily. All right, because what you lose on cholesterol, you pick up on sodium. So, but if you have higher sodium every now and then, all right, that's okay, right? As long as you're not high sodium all the time. Jeannie's saying, I've been trying to eat more fish more frequently because of the omega-3 factor. Yep. Yeah, the omega oils are wonderful in fish. My eggs are omega eggs, right? Do any of you get your eggs so that they've got omega in them? And you'll know if they've got omega fat in them because when you crack them, they are almost orange. They're not yellow. They are almost orange when they have that, when they've been fed that omega. So, yeah, it's a really good idea, for those of you who like fish. I prefer seafood to fish. And that's another way to get away from meat every day. The other thing is, if you think about it, if you like curry, vegetable curry once a week. Nothing wrong with that either. So, it's just a case of what do you want to do? If you want to do it, and if you don't want to do it, doesn't make you a bad person. It's just that I'm, constantly looking for what's my next step. And if you had told me I'd be able to do this, I would have laughed at you a year ago. Not joking. I would have laughed at you. Let me check my fries. I'm laughing because when they made when they made these oven type gloves, barbecue gloves, whatever, they didn't think about women with long nails. So your nails get caught in them. Takes forever to get, but now my hand is safe. Hold on a second. I just wanted to show you, just in 5 minutes, they're already beginning to crisp up. Isn't that incredible? I'm just going to turn them. And I push those to one side. Okay, and the brand I've got are called Impossible Chicken Nuggets. We're going to need some scissors here. And they're saying that a serving size is 5, and that would be equivalent to 220 calories. First thing that I can smell is a little bit of garlic. Now, I'm allergic to garlic, but that's not fresh garlic. I think that's garlic powder, so I should be okay. If not, I'll be sleeping really well tonight. Okay, so they said the serving is 5. I gave myself 6. Because I don't have them very often. And they said to cook them for about 10 minutes. So we'll do it. And then after 10 minutes to turn them over and cook them for a few more minutes. Think about 5. All right, so that's it. Lauren is saying, this healthy eating plan I'm about to start cuts out all dairy except for a splash of milk a day. I'm not sure how that will go. I want to tell you something, Lauren. Have a look to see if you've got this stuff in your country. Because if you do, that cuts out all the dairy and it tastes great. I mean, it's I don't know how to describe it. What's it got in it? Oh, it's an oat base, but I want to tell you, it doesn't taste like oat. And coconut. and got a little bit of sugar in it, I see. But I want to tell you, this stuff I think is the best I've tasted yet. So, and I'm not getting paid by them either. Oh, Kimmy's saying she thinks she's allergic to onions. Yes. No, Lauren's asking, does garlic powder affect you the same as proper garlic? No, dried garlic does not affect me as much as fresh garlic. For example, I love Montreal steak spice, and that definitely has some garlic in it. But as long as I don't use too much of it, I'm fine. What I do is when I buy something, I normally check to see how far down the list the spices are. Because most things, quite honestly, have got garlic in them, unfortunately for me. But if it's low enough down the list, I'm fine. But if it starts saying it's spices and then it's got this, and this, what do I know? The main ingredients is the spices, and the chances are then it's heavy in garlic. Um, but like everything else, it's a learning process. Funny enough, Kimmy, although I'm allergic to garlic, it's in the same family as onions, and I'm not allergic to onions or leeks. And so what I did is I went to a nutritionist one day and said, what is it that is in garlic that isn't in onions? Because obviously that's what I'm allergic to. Yeah, Lauren's saying her poor mom is highly allergic to the smell and taste of fresh and dried garlic. Um, the thing is that my body, I don't know how your mom reacts, but if I have fresh garlic, my it lowers my blood pressure immediately. I mean, plummets it, so that I feel like I'm dissociated, like you do when you get the flu. If you get a bad bout of the flu, you're sort of there, but you're not. You know that feeling? Yeah. And it does it to me within an hour. I can feel it immediately in my body. Yeah, I can taste something and go, oh my God, that had garlic in it. Not because of the taste, because of what my body starts to do. And then I know I've got about an hour to get home if I'm not at home. Um, but the good news is, if I am at home and I have something that's got garlic in it, sometimes I'll just, you know, not take too much of it, but I will eat it because where I'm at home and I'm going to end up asleep. So um, the worst thing for me, Lauren, is when I go visiting people who don't realize how serious it is. Because obviously, if I've driven somewhere, and I had it happen to me a couple of times where I've driven somewhere and they bring out a meal. I can remember once somebody cooked me roast lamb because they knew I loved lamb. But what they did is they stuffed it with garlic cloves, you know. And so what I said was, you've got the garlic cloves inside it, right? Yeah. I said, how about you give me the skin? Even though I realized the skin would have been basted to some degree with some of the garlic juices, but it was just like, just don't give me the center bit where it's been next to the garlic clove, just in case. Sorry. And then I can remember once going somewhere and they did prawns floating in garlic, and it was just like, I am really sorry, I can't eat that. And they were devastated, and I felt so badly about it, but I don't always remember to tell people. So it is one of those things. And the other thing is that I have found out that you can have people with allergies come to eat with you, and you don't have to make a big scene of it, right? Some people make a big scene of it, and some people just go, "Hey, Sal, we've got roast beef and Yorkshire pudding and garlic bread, so don't eat the garlic bread. We made some without the garlic for you." And Sal, just to let you know, that little serving of whatever over there, beans or whatever, doesn't have any garlic in it. Before we put the garlic in, we kept that aside for you. And I go, thank you. Or they made me a salad, a fresh salad. Everybody else got Caesar salad, but they just kept some of the salad aside before they mixed it with garlic. I go, thank you. So kind. And, I had people who've come to dinner, who are vegan or whatever. And I don't know about you, instead of thinking that it's a nasty thing to have to deal with, I go, oh, good, I'm going to learn how to cook something vegan now. Um, and it's just like, hey, it's all doable. No problem at all. All right, so let's turn those fries over, and we will turn the nuggets over as well. One of the things, hi Nash, good to see you. One of the things that I have definitely been surprised at is it lived. It lived. One of the things I've been surprised at is how much I have enjoyed the 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 small things I bought. The plant-based sour cream, the plant-based cream cheese. It absolutely has blown my mind that I have enjoyed them. I am already rebuying them. Yeah, a little bit more expensive, but as the years go on, I think you'll find that the prices will drop. It's amazing how much of the how much people are, how many people are already doing plant-based stuff. So, I was surprised, as you saw me. I was surprised when I had the plant-based meat. Doesn't taste exactly like meat. I understand somebody has done a plant-based steak and that it's really good, really expensive, but really good. The steak, a mignon, and it's just like, really? I may have to try that because I love my steak. But again, not because I want to go vegan, just because I think it would be really healthy for me not to eat cheese every single day of the week. And quite honestly, I think I have had some cheese this week, but only because I forced myself to. It wasn't my first choice anymore. It was really quite surprising. Those cheese slices, they are absolutely fine in my pita. So I'm saving all that cholesterol every day that I put into there. And it's just like, wow, who would have thought it? Not me. So it doesn't really matter. Now, Lauren, I know that you just remind me, you're going to drink more water. And what else are you doing? Just so that we understand. And by the way, if anybody else wants to do this, wants to make a healthier choice, I said I would like to just try it. Hi, Sandy. Good to see you. I just wanted to try it. I honestly did not think I would like it, but I was willing to try it. And I think that's the first thing. The same thing as, how many of you are going, I'd be willing to try microgreens? All right. It's so easy to grow. Why wouldn't you? And then all you do, right, when they're like this, you just take them like this and you harvest them. And then you've got a little thing of so nutritious. Huh? This is store-bought chia, and store-bought flax. This is that bit I just took, flaxseed. And just over here is the chia. Interesting. Chia has more of a bite to it, but normally I wouldn't notice it. It's got more of a mustard taste to it. And I wouldn't notice it because I would have it in my peeler and I'd just be chomping away. Lauren's having more water, more protein, and more vegetables, and no dairy. That's a lot of change. For lunch, or just for a month, or what? Just so we can support you in that, Lauren. So more water. That more water is not tangible for me. It's not quantifiable. So how much water are you presently drinking, and how much water do you intend drinking? And you understand, if it's not the same thing as I'm saying, no meat 2 days a week. That is quantifiable. Did I eat any meat that day? And if so, then it doesn't count. But if I didn't eat any meat on that day, then that's quantifiable. So no dairy is huge. That in itself is huge. Jeannie's saying some people who suffer from Crohn's, right, find dairy upsets their system. But for me, dairy helps, all right? I was asked to stop dairy years ago, and I suffered, yes. And that's the whole thing. It's different things for different people, right? And that's why I'm saying I still have dairy. I'm not going vegan. I'm just trying to drop it for a couple of days a week. I thought, okay. So let's see how we do here. That chia is stronger than I thought on its own. And this is the next lot of chia and flax growing in there. Just want to see if the brownies are done. Give it a bit more, I think. Okay. I'm taking this out because it's got to cool a bit. All right, so Lauren is saying she's probably drinking about 1,200 milliliters. That would be about a quart, I think. Can you do the conversion for us, Lauren? Because we've got Americans here. They don't talk our language. So 1,000 is a liter, and a liter is, I think, a quart. So you're drinking about 40 ounces. All right, that's quite a bit. So now you're going to try and take that up to 3 liters a day, which would be 2.2 would be a gallon, right? That's a lot of water. So, but most, yeah, that's what I thought. A liter is a quart, right? So if you go up to, if you go up to 3 liters, that is 3/4 of a gallon then. 3 quarts. Okay, just so the people in America can understand what you're doing. How are you going to do that? Are you counting it in glasses? How are you measuring it? 3.17 quarts. Right, there you go. Thank you, Lauren. Just about 3/4, give or take. 300 milliliters. That's what I'm interested in. So well done. I just want this to cool down a little bit before I try eating it. Now, how many of you have noticed the first thing I did was to smell it? Okay, and it smells absolutely like a chicken nugget. Quite honestly, that's exactly what it smells like. I'm not going to dip it because that's what I would normally do. Can you hear the crispiness? It's nice. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, sorry. You probably want to see the texture. Can you see that? So I could eat those, no problem. Jody, I was telling somebody about your comment when I was eating the cheeses, that I went back for a third helping, a third bite. And if you reckon that if I went back for a third bite, that it was okay. It looks exactly like a regular chicken nugget. It smells exactly like a regular chicken nugget. I did. Okay, now what I didn't tell you is how does it taste? It tastes, what's on the outside? Bread, I think, breading of some sort. Just like a regular chicken nugget would have. So I'm now going to go and enjoy my snack. Those are my air fried fries, right? Which I'm also going to dip. Let me rephrase that. Very hot. But there you go. So they look like them. They taste like them. And I could definitely eat those once a week without any problem at all. So there you go. Easy. Plant-based chicken nuggets. This is DearMamaSal saying, remember, if you go into shock, doesn't matter what causes the shock, it will always have the same cycle. The most important thing is to remember, don't make any decisions at the front end. Right? Don't make any decisions on the front end. Yeah, Kimmy's thinking about doing the Mediterranean diet. They say without doubt it is the best. If you're going to go on a diet, the Mediterranean is the best one to do. I don't want to do any diets because diets mean I'd be deprived. So, me, I just make little changes. See how I go. I'll see you on Friday. This is DearMamaSal, off to go and enjoy my food. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for being here. Keep making changes that work for you. Bye-bye for now.